Spoilers for Teapot 21. Wait, why did 2 write Teapot 19 voting results? Does 2 think that Teapot 19 was the 19th challenge? How would 2 even known about the events of Teapot 11 and Teapot 18? Like the rest of you, I'm still processing what went down in Teapot 21. It was a great episode with one of my favorite cold opens to date. Everyone reacting in panic when the earth is tossed around, followed by Grassy's slow, uneasy exploration of the nearby apocalyptic landscape. I was certainly not expecting Grassy himself to literally rebuild Lai. But what has me most excited is that my elimination predictions from Teapot 19 were proven right! Yeah, baby! I'm the master predictor! I gotta get to Vegas, put it all on black, that's what I'm talking about! Oh, yeah, I guess it helped that it was the most obvious 2 eliminations in the world. Pen and Tennis Ball were popular vote-getters who had just been first and second safe in Teapot 19, and Lai's more exciting arc in Teapot 19 allowed her to leapfrog over Bottle, whose quick and relatively unimportant role in Teapot 19, combined with a very poor history and vote to save, finally doomed her. As for Death Pack yet again, since the end of the Teapot Dark Ages, Black Hole basically always gets first safe, and Fanny basically always gets second safe, so it was basically between Marker and Tree. The smart money there would have been to bet on Marker. Tree was in the bottom 2 3 times, and since then hasn't done a whole lot out of establishing some admittedly wholesome friendships with Pin and Marker, and randomly using his meager Teapot 19 screen time to turn purple and be a maid.
I guess I'm cleaning it. No worries.
Why? Why would you do that? Is it because you're British? So I guess since I'm feeling proud of myself for sort of getting the Teapot 19 elimination predictions right, I figure I might as well test my luck and look at which 2 contestants I think will be getting eliminated in Teapot 22. Or Teapot 23 if Teapot 22 ends up being a non-competition episode. This is a lot harder. The writers were very particular in how they divided the alive team up for voting and the dead team safe, and one look at the makeup of both teams should make this clear. The dead team has all of the contestants who demolish expectations and vote to save, plus Donut. And the alive team has all the contestants with mixed or unimpressive records and vote to save, plus Grassy and Tennis Ball. This seems to be something of a cull vote, as though the writers are using this unique opportunity to remove 2 of the weaker contestants from the running without having to worry about what team they're on. It makes it more fun to speculate as to who will be eliminated, but also a lot harder to predict. So I'm not here to make any ironclad predictions. Again, these are the least popular contestants still competing, at least from a vote to save perspective, so any of them could feasibly go here. But I'll try to at least give each of these contestants a ranking between likely safe, at risk, and somewhere in between. Before we start though, don't think I didn't notice that 100% of people who have gotten covered in black space goo and turned into giant bug monsters weren't subscribed to Frofrocacho. So if you don't want that to happen to you, you know what to do. Anyway, I don't really have a super satisfying way to go through the contestants, so we'll go alphabetically. Kind of crazy that they went and put every member of Team 2 up for elimination. But that says more about Team 2 than it does about the writers. This just ended up being a pretty weak team, especially once heavy hitters like Eraser and Snowball left. Last time she was up for elimination, Book received more than 55,000 votes, the most on her team. So she should be good, right? Not quite. For context, all of those votes came after she had by far Team 2's standout role in Teapot 17. Finally, officially telling off Pencil, seemingly for good. A lot of viewers rewarded her for that. In Teapot 21, I'd argue she had one of the smallest roles out of anyone up for elimination. She sort of ends up goofing around with Marker for a bit and then joins Price Tag and trying to break 2's door from the inside. There's just not much more to Book in this episode. That alone wouldn't be the end of the world, but Book is also on the cusp of winning Battle for Dream Island again. That will doom her in Teapot if it happens, and I give her strong odds of beating Tennis Ball and Needle. The question is if it's too early and voters are still willing to give her a chance in Teapot, on the off chance she doesn't win BFDIA. Surprisingly though, her vote to save record isn't horrible. Don't get me wrong, in early Teapot it was, but since Teapot 10, every time she's been up for voting, she's typically been in the middle of the pack, or just barely in the bottom 2. Due to her small role in Teapot 21 and the finality of BFDIA, I'm going to put Book at risk. He has nothing to worry about. The untouchable popularity of Grassy throughout his time on the strongest team on Earth clearly started annoying a lot of people after a couple Team 2 eliminations, and he finally went from being first safe to third safe. He survived the bottom 2 in Teapot 19 pretty easily, but the fact that he was in the bottom 2 at all was pretty surprising in its own right. But he overcame this by arguably being the standout character of Teapot 19, along with maybe Pencil. That ending of him sitting in the vent sobbing, sent chills down most people's spines. That, combined with a really strong start of Teapot 21, essentially BFDI but it's just Grassy, guarantees him safety in this elimination ceremony. Many longtime Grassy voters will return home, and he may even win new fans. I'd say he could be in the running for first safe. Lie. What a silly name. Wouldn't Switchy have made more sense? I'm getting off topic. The one big surprise out of the Teapot 19 elimination results is that Lai got third safe. I think I was expecting that role to go to Pen, since Lai had a far more significant role in Teapot 19 than Pen did. Lai had an emotional scene with Black Hole, which had been hinted at since she rejoined in Teapot 12, and then randomly shifted into a killer beast slaughtering without discrimination before placing third overall. That performance only netted her third place? Well, yeah, but in hindsight, getting beyond third safe was a tall order for Lai. Pen and Tennis Ball are popular, and she still almost got 10,000 more votes to save than Bottle. But now, there are no more safety nets on the team. TV and Bottle are gone. What seems to be a permanent dissolution of Bagged could not have come at a better time for Lai. In Teapot 21, she's another standout character. I'd argue that she's truly back to form here. She's not killing anyone, she's not throwing a tantrum about Black Hole. I do think she's uncharacteristically dismissive of Pen, never even thinking about trying to recover him, and even sort of calling him too close to her at one point. But other than that, I really like her performance here. Being the first survivor Grassy rebuilds, and then adventurously exploring the new domain. This is probably who Lai was always meant to be, and with all her antics on the force, I reckon that she and Grassy have the biggest roles this episode. No wonder she was featured so prominently on the promotional materials. Unfortunately, her record isn't amazing in Vote to Save, but I think she should be safe here after a performance like that. I'll put her in between. Poor Marker. It was glossed over in the one-person cake at stake ceremony, but our suspicions were confirmed. Marker was in the bottom 2 for the first time since Teapot 2. He's definitely fallen off in terms of popularity, and viewers have seemed somewhat unimpressed with his antics as of late. He didn't really have a whole lot to offer in Teapot 17 or Teapot 19, and that trend continued in Teapot 21. He was paired up with Book, had a couple of pretty funny lines, and that was basically it. He didn't even get the additional pro that Book had, in which she got to interact with Price Tag. I don't know, guys. I'm not feeling very confident in Marker here. There's a chance that some Bottle voters who like a goofy, fun-loving contestant, might switch to him, but my dude needs a good edit, and he's been hungering for one since February 2025. At risk for sure. Fun fact, I actually have a whole video coming out on Price Tag in the near future. It'll be my next character examination after my one on Tennis Ball. And as a little teaser of that video, let it be known, I never used to be all that impressed with Price Tag. The more I've rewatched Teapot, the more I've watched of this current era, the more I've been impressed. Unfortunately, I don't think Teapot 21 is all that great for Price Tag at a character level. Price Tag is tasked with recovering dead contestants, but has an out-of-place line about still not knowing some of their names. Okay. Then there's a scene between Price Tag and 2, and we find out that Price Tag still feels like the new contestant and doesn't have a lot of friends. Well, part of that is because of the dark age of Teapot and the suckage of Just Not. That'll actually be my next video essay. But I honestly think this is a bit of an exaggeration. The new one? Price Tag has been competing for 5 years. My object in Christ, that is 2 times as long as the entire first season of Battle for Dream Island. Again, I could kind of get this when Price Tag was talking about it to Book in Teapot 10, because Just Not was such a bad and dysfunctional team that it would kind of make sense for Price Tag to feel alone and isolated then. But in canon, that conversation took place 2 years ago. There's been an entirely new team dynamic since then. Again, this ends up being a bit of a digression, because not only do I think that scene probably went over really well with viewers, but Price Tag has never even been in a bottom 2. I don't think there's much of a cause for concern here. He didn't get chased by the Force! Yes! Yes!
Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on!
In all honesty, I think the writers felt the same way that I did last episode, that if they had a 3rd straight appearance from Tennis Ball this season in which he ran away from the Force, it probably would have killed his character and grown his hate base to an unsustainable level. Even better, he got to team up and do some mechanical work with Golf Ball for the first time since the beginning of Teapot 15. A welcome return to form. But there is some cause for concern here. Tennis Ball still got the 2nd most votes, but the place between him and the third place contestant got a bit tighter, closer to 3,000 votes than 4,000 votes, as in Teapot 19. This gets even more interesting when one considers the difference in votes between Tennis Ball and Lai. In Teapot 19, Tennis Ball and Lai were separated by about 9,000 votes. In Teapot 21, that difference has shrunk down to only 3,000 votes. Even though Tennis Ball survived with the second most votes, it seems his popularity this season is shrinking, and there are going to be a lot of voters who are very annoyed that Bottle is out and he's still in. Worse still is BFDIA. There are people out there who genuinely think he has a chance at winning that season. And since the Teapot 21 voting period will be over by the time we see Tennis Ball definitely, absolutely, bet the house on it eliminated in BFDIA 24, that won't factor into a lot of people's opinions. He'll still be the guy who's technically still competing in 2 seasons. Based on the sheer popularity for him on display in the Teapot 19 and Teapot 21 voting results, I have to imagine that he'll still be safe here, and a lack of wacky Force and Tennis Ball Looney Tunes antics will definitely be a boon. But if any of these contestants were going to underperform, I would worry somewhat about Tennis Ball. Winner is the last of these 7 up for elimination, and I'm not 100% sure what voters are going to think. On the one hand, finally, at long last, an episode where winner and loser can be together. It was genuinely really nice to see them trying to figure things out together before loser accidentally gets kidnapped by Grassy. But on the other hand, winner's been on a slippery slope since leaving the S, surrounded by mostly less popular teammates back on that team. Plus, I don't think it was very good to have half of winner's role this episode just being walking around and looking for loser. I still think this was a strong enough plot to keep winner out of the danger zone, but like with Tennis Ball, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of an underperformance in the votes. So that's where things seem to stand right now. Gun to my head, I think Book and Marker are out here, but this is a combination of some very amateur speculation, mathematical trends, and a large, heaping helping of some gut feelings. For what it's worth, I voted to save Tennis Ball and Marker. We'll see if either of those votes make a difference, I suppose. Feel free to let me know in the comments your thoughts on my vague predictions and who you voted to save and why. Until next time, friends.